Hey everyone, welcome to the Adventures of Shane and Laura. Today we're going to give you the top 10 do's and don'ts for Glacier National Park.
And these are quick tips so you can have a stress-free time at Glacier. If you want a more in-depth overview of how to plan your trip to Glacier, we will link it right about here.
Right about there. All right, so here we go. Do pack layers.
Don't wear cotton.
The temperature in Glacier National Park can change so quickly that you really have to be prepared. Layers are your best friend. Early in the morning, you could be in a down coat, and then later that day, you can be in shorts and a t-shirt. And I showed video of that in our longer video. You can check that out. But it changes really quickly. The flip side of that is if you're on a hike or something and you're getting hot and sweaty, all that sweat is going to just be soaked up by cotton, and it'll just be slowly released as the evening cools off. And it's going to cool you off way too much. So stick with wool and synthetics. Do show up early.
Don't roll in at 11 a.m. expecting to find a parking spot. During peak season, the park can be really packed, so it's incredibly important for you to show up early so you can actually find a parking spot. Unfortunately, that does mean sunrise.
Do use the traffic pullouts, including for wildlife.
Don't hold up traffic to cruise the park slowly or to stop and look at wildlife.
While it isn't the point of the park to be rushing around everywhere you go, there will be a time that you have a specific place that you want to be, and in order to maybe make the whole hike by sunset or something like that, you got to get there at a reasonable hour. And sometimes due to forces outside of your control, it's hard to get there early enough. So you'll be driving across the park and someone will be in your way, and that's when you'll appreciate why it is that you want to use those pullouts.
And they really have so many pullouts in Glacier, so just utilize them so you're not holding other people up.
Do check for road closures.
Don't show up in April expecting the park to be open.
Weather in the Northern Rockies is really unpredictable, but one thing that you can pretty much count on is snow for like 8 months, which means that you have about 2 months, July and August, that you can be sure the park will be open. But around those, it's a little bit sketchier.
And also, you should just check the park website for road closures because the road might be closed for other reasons, if it's animals or construction, rock slides. So just always be checking that, even if the day before it was open.
And they'll let you know if the road looks like it's going to get opened a little bit earlier than it usually would, or if there's an early closure in the fall. Do take a hike. Experience the park up close and personal.
Don't just stay in your car.
Now, don't get us wrong. Going to the Sun Road is one of the most beautiful roads in the whole country. But if you get out of your car and you go and you wander around a little in Glacier National Park, you're going to see some of the most amazing, beautiful views that you've ever seen in your life. So we just encourage you, get out of the car and go check it out. And especially if you're able to do a 5 mile up, 5 mile out hike, go do Grinnell Glacier. It's so amazing.
We obviously can't emphasize that enough.
If you want to see us doing Grinnell Glacier, we'll link to it right here. Do plan your meals ahead. Bring plenty of food and water.
Don't expect food and water to be cheap or easily accessible. So one thing that's actually really surprising about the park is that it's really hard to find food and water when you need it. I think West Glacier entrance and East Glacier entrance, they do have places where you can buy food, but it's going to be really expensive. Other than that, I think Logan Pass maybe has a place where you can buy a bottle of water, but you're not going to get a full meal there. It's probably a couple snacks. And again, it's going to be really expensive. So what we do is we pack snacks, we pack plenty of water because especially if you're getting out and doing stuff, you're going to go through a lot of water. And we make sandwiches ahead of time, bring a cooler, we do all that sort of stuff, and it makes the trip so much more enjoyable.
Yeah, and one thing to note is these places at the East and West gates, they're not going to have all sorts of variety of food. It's going to be a few things, and those are your options.
Yeah. Plus, if you run out, it's a long ways to get back to one of those places.
Yeah. Do be sure to practice safety. Keep a respectful distance from all wildlife, be very prepared for your trip, and especially practice water safety.
Don't approach wildlife too closely, especially bears. Don't hike alone, and don't take on activities without the appropriate expertise, gear, or fitness level.
it might seem like they have everything in place and it's not going to be a dangerous place to go, but look, Glacier National Park, it's like the wilderness, right? And the wilderness is wild. We want it to be wild, but that means that there are certain precautions that you need to take if you want to be safe. People do die in the park every year, and the leading cause of death in the park is drowning. So just be aware, the water in the park is all glacial runoff. It's very cold, and when it's moving quickly, hypothermia can set in really quickly. Just being really cautious around animals, giving them proper amount of space, and just respecting the landscape you're in and the wildlife around you.
And the number 2 leading fatality in the park is heart attacks. So, know yourself, and also research the hikes that you're going to be doing to figure out if that is something that your body can handle, and pay attention to what your body is saying. Especially if you're with people, it can be easy to want to keep pushing yourself to see that thing, but not if it costs you your life or endangers other people. So just really practice safety and be prepared.
Do get a reservation if you're planning on staying at any of the campsites.
Don't use the first come, first serve camping.
Okay, so we've talked about it time and again, but check it out in our video right here about the first come, first serve, how it is that it worked for us, and how it is that you want to do it, because it's not as simple as they make it out to be. But if you do end up where you want to do a short a trip on short notice, check that out so you can see how to do first come, first serve. But if you have the ability to set up a reservation, do it ahead of time. It'll save you a ton of headache.
And we have done camping by reservation, and we've also done it by first come, first serve. And doing it with a reservation was so much less stressful, and might as well do it that way. You're on vacation.
That's right.
Why deal with stress? So I really can't emphasize it enough, because it made a huge difference.
Yeah. Do use the shuttle system. It's way more helpful than you might even think.
Don't drive more than you have to.
You might not know, but the park has a shuttle service that you can use, and you can park at a place where it's easier to get a parking spot and then get shuttled up to another place. Or if you're going to do a hike like the Garden Wall on the Loop, like we did, I guess it's the High Line. Yeah, the High Line Trail. You can park down at the Loop, get a ride up to the pass, and that is a one-way hike that goes back down to the Loop, so then you'll be there where your car is.
And like we said before, parking can be so hard to find. So utilize that shuttle.
Yeah. And finally, do stop and smell the roses.
Don't go through the park quickly just trying to check all the boxes. Well, I've always been the kind of person that wants to check off all the wonderful, amazing things that you see on Instagram or on Pinterest. But one thing that I've learned to do that has completely changed my experience is to slow down and actually experience what is in front of you. So Glacier has so many things that I'm sure you guys have all seen online or in person, but you won't really remember it or experience it if you're just gonna rush there, look at it, keep going.
Yeah, if you take your time, you stop and enjoy a place, you can really understand what it is that makes Glacier National Park so special, and really kind of just enter into the experience.
So we hope you've enjoyed all of our do's and don'ts to make it a stress-free trip. And if you like this, give it a thumbs up.
Yeah, right down here, right there, little thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this, we talk about Yellowstone National Park, and I keep saying this, but it is coming, I promise. We went to Banff last year up in Canada, and I've got that video coming out soon too.
So subscribe.
Yeah, so subscribe. I don't know if I said the word subscribe. Subscribe if you want to see some of those.
Or just do it.
All right, thanks guys. We'll catch you next time.